Okay, pardon me. Let's touch on this economic management team again because we're running out of time. If you could give us in specific terms now, the percentage of job creation that perhaps if Energy expects this management team to consider creating now. She says, as a coordinating minister, she intends to diversify the economy. Yeah, you also touched on that. She's looked at entertainment,
job creation, so that we don't become dependent on oil. What percentage of job creation do you think that, maybe in say a year, that can be created? Because I mean, 160 million strong, we've got a big market here and capabilities here, don't we?
It's difficult for me to put a figure on it, but we can discuss the unemployment figures, and I believe that there's a whole lot that Nigeria's private sector can do under the right conditions. Okay, again, unfortunately, I have to go to the rather overwhelmed issue of power because of its place in our national life. It has implications for economic transformation. It has implications for improvement in the quality of life of the average Nigerian. But just if we're able to even provide up to 6,000 megawatts of electricity in the next year, okay? Currently, our installed capacity is about 5,800. It's about 6,000. But then we don't produce more than 3,000, 3,500 at the current time. If we're even able to make it stable to the point of, say, 6,000 megawatts over the next year, and it's stable, it's solid, that on its own can really impact industry tremendously in a way that a lot of people are going to come back into business. A lot of even people involved in most menial businesses that require electricity are going to come back into self-employment. And I believe that people who are currently shedding weight because they can't stay profitable on account of the high cost of diesel, for instance, are going to be able to perhaps have more people working. But I can tell you that in order for us to reduce employment to about 7%, if or even to keep it
unemployment.
Unemployment. Thanks.
Yeah.
At the current level, okay, as high as almost 42-45%. In order for us to keep it at the present level, we must be able to generate at least between 5 to 10 million jobs in the next within the next 10 years. We must.
Well, I'm bothered about a particular individual. You're kind of man that led you down to this place.
Yes.
So he's now represented by, or he's representing loads of Nigerians. How soon can people like that, like the market woman, like the teacher, the doctors, and everyone, how soon can they get to feel some of these policies? Now, we're talking about some kind of quick feelings just before we get into that longer time of energy for all, education for all by the year 2000. Finally, 2000 is way gone past 2000, and now we're even talking about 2020. So how soon can we get to feel all of this so that when we don't get to feel them, we know that, this to me seemed like a failure?
That's a tough one. Well,
it is quite tough. But again, because when Mark West said about that 2020, you remember once upon a time we thought that we will never get to 2000. So all that talk about 2000 by the year 2000, and this is 2011, and we're getting close to 2020. So that when we talk about policies and implementation, as we coast along, when we don't get to feel A, B, C, then we know that X, Y, and Z won't be.
Well, first of all, let's just make the clarification that 2020 is an aspiration, okay? That you would like to be something. You would like to be this by this time. It's an aspiration. But of course, it recognizes that in order for you to get to that point, there are certain steps you must necessarily take. And I don't speak for government, but this is pretty clear to us. And the question that you've put to me, when can the ordinary people feel it? I think it's a question that it's a classical question. It's a question that will always be there because, and I think it's a question that is best put perhaps to the economic management team or to President Goodluck Jonathan himself. I mean, he's the president. He's the one that has laid out his plans, and Nigerians have elected him. He's the one. But I can say to you that these things are not, it's not magic. Okay, if you have an economy that is as distorted as ours, if you have an economy in which budget implementation is as low as it is, okay, it's difficult for you to really make certain claims. And then I must encourage you guys just to do one more thing, and that is perhaps to avoid the excessive focus on the federal government of Nigeria. You must avoid that excessive focus. 36 states, 36 governors. I believe that the key to unlocking Nigeria's potential is actually not just the federal government. If you ask me, who holds the key? I think it's the states. And so I believe very strongly that citizens live in the states, they live in the local governments, they pay their taxes, and they also elected local government officials, they elected state officials, and they also elected federal officials. And so I think that responsibility must be apportioned across the layers, but more importantly, in your immediate environment. Okay, so this focus on the economic management team, what they're going to do and what they're not going to do, I would suggest that perhaps every state government should actually have its own economic management team.
Yeah, but don't you agree?
And then now coordinate with the federal level.
Instance,
it is important.
When you talked about how,
Okay.
there are those who have said, listen, if the federal government would just do one thing,
Yes.
allow the states produce power for the states,
Yes.
that's a major one.
It
So
is a-
most of these decisions comes from the top.
No, absolutely. No,
You've been in
no,
government.
no,
You know
no.
how
I have been in
decisions
government.
work.
Yes, absolutely. And it is a position I've heard. It is a position that we have also canvassed for some time. Okay, the decentralization of power, for instance, among several other issues.
But you know,
And-
in
and I
the
don't
plate,
think-
the
and I don't
federal
think-
government
I
take
don't-
the bigger pie. That is it.
No,
You
well-
look
well,
at it
fine, but-
constitutionally,
but-
so that is why
but-
everyone looks to the government.
Yeah, but
at
as
the center.
No, well, I'm not quite sure. But also, okay, even if the federal government takes the bigger pie, it does not exculpate the states and the local government from any kind of responsibility or accountability for the portion that they take. Okay, give us account of the one that you've taken and say, okay, if I had more, I'm able to do this as well.
Well, yeah,
Okay? So I mean,
that's
that's really. I believe that accountability is a major
Across board, yeah.
It's a major issue across every level of government, even in the private sector as well. Accountability is a major issue,
Unfortunately, we're running out of
and
time.
nobody should be exculpated from responsibility, irrespective of what sector or what layer of government such a person operates.
Could you do this in 30 seconds if you can?
Tell me.
The private sector.
Yes.
While you've been in NASG all this while, I mean, you've also been in government. You know how the government thought, or the kind of thinking government had towards the private sector. Do you think that a lot has been improved in terms of the ability to play in the big market, perhaps on the international scene?
What I can say to you is that government, over the years, has become increasingly more aware of the strength of the private sector, and therefore the importance that they have in their efforts to transform the economy.
Yeah, but the private sector has a lot of grounds to cover.
The private sector has a lot of grounds to cover. Our country has a lot of grounds to cover.